Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Curseof and welcome back to another video. Today we're here for another Yu-Gi-Oh card discussion. But quickly before I get into that card discussion, I want to remind all of you guys that my Discord is linked below in the description. I am hosting a $100 Yu-Gi-Oh Speed Duel tournament. It will be based on the current format and it is a $5 entry fee. If you guys do think this is intriguing at all, sounds like something you might want to do, you guys can head over to the Discord linked below, like I said, and yeah, from there you can go ahead and head over to the $100 tournament channel, text channel, and you can see all the information there, and you can PayPal me $5 and sign up. $5 USD payout is the prize pool is $100 USD. Anyway, yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. Just want to quickly remind you guys to hit that like button if you have been enjoying my content, if you're enjoying this video so far, and also subscribe. I put a lot of work into these videos and it really helps me out and motivates me to keep on doing what I'm doing when you guys like and subscribe to my channel. Anyway, let's get into the video. So today's Yu-Gi-Oh discussion is going to be on another card that will be coming out actually pretty soon in May, and this card is ThousandEyes Restrict. So, ThousandEyes Restrict is a level 1 Dark Spellcaster Fusion effect monster with 0 base attack and 0 base defense and the following effect. It's a fusion summon of the monster's Relinquished and ThousandEyes Idol, and it states, other monsters on the field cannot change their battle position or attack. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls. Equip that target to this card, max 1. This card's attack and defense become equal to the equipped monsters, and if this card will be destroyed by battle, destroy that equipped monster instead. So let's start off by comparing ThousandEyes Restrict to obviously the most comparable monster that we currently have in the format, that being Relinquished. So both ThousandEyes Restrict and Relinquished have a very similar effect where they can actually suck up your opponent's monster and use that monster's attack and defense as their own. Similarly, again, if they would be destroyed by battle, you can actually destroy the monster that's equipped to them instead. But they each have one effect that is unique to themselves. Relinquish's effect makes it so any battle damage you take while Relinquish is equipped with one of your opponent's monster cards, they will take equal damage in effect damage, while ThousandEyes Restrict states that all other monsters, meaning every monster except for himself, cannot change their battle position, nor can they attack. So when comparing these two monsters based on their extra effects, the ones that are unique to each of them, ThousandEyes Restrict has a much more powerful effect as he actually stops your opponent from being able to apply any offensive pressure unless they are able to negate ThousandEyes Restrict, his continuous effect. While Relinquish just offers that little bit of extra burn damage, but if your opponent can't actually attack over your monster, that burn damage isn't quite as necessary. Along with that, it means ThousandEyes Restrict actually comes with protection even when not equipped within one of your opponent's monsters, which was Relinquish's biggest issue. The fact that if they had the ability to pop your back row monster that's equipped to it with something like Dust Tornado or Wild Tornado or Stamping Destruction, some of the back row hate, well then your Relinquish is vulnerable, and that's how they tend to run over and actually kill your Relinquished. Well, ThousandEyes Restrict comes with the exact same benefit of sucking up your opponent's monsters and using your opponent's monsters as fodder to target your opponent's back row with Double Cyclone, but it doesn't come with the same hindrance of being very vulnerable while it doesn't have a equip card attached to it. ThousandEyes Restrict is a much more powerful card than Relinquished overall because of its extra effect, which is a lot better than Relinquish's extra effect, to the point where it was actually the boss monster and the main card of a format in the TCG, being GOAT format in the GOAT Control deck. The difference between what GOAT Control had and what we have is that they had their GOAT tokens and Metamorphosis to easily turbo out ThousandEyes Restrict. Our only way to get ThousandEyes Restrict on the field is to actually fusion summon him. Due to the fact that ThousandEyes Restrict is required to actually be fusion summoned and doesn't have any easy turbos like instant fusion or GOAT token metamorphosis, that's where this card starts to dwindle in usage. ThousandEyes Restrict, on first glance, is actually really easily splashable in the Relinquished deck, as you already run Relinquished in that deck, and if you could play a Fusion Spell or replace your skill with Fusion Party and run ThousandEyes Idol, then you actually have the ability to go into ThousandEyes Restrict. But this still isn't potentially the best idea. The first issue is you actually have to sacrifice some consistency with your skill in order to introduce ThousandEyes Restrict to the deck. Now, the Relinquished deck has seen success without its Ritual Ceremony skill before it was released, using more Sonic Birds than you do in the current deck, but you do still have to sacrifice some of its new consistency that it does have, and the deck does lower in its consistency, as I mentioned already, but increases its power ceiling and its ability to potentially stall. Along with that, you also have to run at least one copy of a very garbage monster, that being ThousandEyes Idol. So, ThousandEyes Idol is simply a normal monster with 0 attack, 0 defense. It has no special abilities, no really reason to be played at all, unless you're using it to fusion summon your ThousandEyes Restrict. And that's honestly where ThousandEyes Restrict really starts to hurt. This issue can be worked around using Palominization, one of Joey Wheeler's skills, but I honestly think running Fusion Party and 1000Eyes Idol will be better than running Palomine, where you still have to run a normal monster to change to act as ThousandEyes Idol, and you still have to run a Poly, which means you need to run 2 extra cards and that skill. Well, if you were only running the ThousandEyes Idol and the Fusion Party, well, it's just a ThousandEyes Idol as an extra card and your skill. So you keep more consistency. Maybe you don't get a monster that can be as good, and maybe my mind will change depending on what other cards do get released in the new starter decks. But currently, I do think Fusion Party is a better method to take, especially since a Fusion Summon done through the Fusion Party skill, just like the Summon of Moth done through Cocoon, you can't floodgate it or just respond to the summon of ThousandEyes Restrict in that scenario at all. So, although it does have a big weakness in requiring you to run ThousandEyes Idol, and using your Fusion Party skill, you're only going to be able to summon him once, the ceiling that he offers potentially makes it worth it to actually run this combo in the Relinquished deck. So there is one other thing that can make this a technically potential playable deck, and that's the fact there is a skill coming out with the set that includes ThousandEyes Restrict that's called ThousandEyes Spell. Now, we don't actually know the effect of ThousandEyes Spell, but we can potentially make some theories on it. One potential thing that ThousandEyes Spell might introduce is the fact that maybe it will have Relinquish's second effect as well as its own. Or maybe it'll act as a version of the Restrict or Relinquished Fusion spell that actually exists in the normal TCG, being Relinquished Fusion. Although I do doubt this, and this actually wouldn't help the deck a lot, since you still have to fusion summon the monsters with the normal fusion requirements. It's just that you can do it from the deck or graveyard. It's just that you can actually use the graveyard as well as a resource, which won't actually fix the deck very much at all. Now, the ThousandEyes Spell gives a ability to potentially fusion summon using monsters other than ThousandEyes Idol, maybe using the Illusionist Faceless Mage that is also being released in that set, or maybe even just tributing a Relinquished you control and summoning a ThousandEyes Restrict directly from the extra deck. Then you can potentially see some play in the ThousandEyes Restrict as a deck itself and not just as a addition to a Relinquished deck. Even if the Fusion Party build doesn't work, or the Palominization build doesn't work, or the ThousandEyes Spell build doesn't work, we can't run it as a deck, ThousandEyes Restrict will still 100% see play in the format. Might be like, well, how? That's because we have our card, Waking the Dragons. If you guys did watch my standard extra deck profile, you guys will know that we actually run 2 copies of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in that deck. but we really don't require 2 copies of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And when ThousandEyes Restrict comes out, I will 100% remove one of those Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon copies and put in ThousandEyes Restrict in place of it as an alternative to Waking the Dragons. Therefore, you will see this guy chilling in extra decks very frequently to be summoned off Waking the Dragons if your opponent pops it, and you might actually see ThousandEyes Restrict used in some games, just not summoned properly for those games. Overall, this monster is extremely powerful. It has a phenomenal effect, and it is a phenomenal stall strategy as well, just stopping your opponent from attacking or changing their battle position, period. And if your opponent can't out this with ready for intercepting or something like that, for example, and get it face down and get its effect out of the way, then you might just be able to solve the game entirely. So with this in mind, if this card can be used as a deck itself, or even just summon off Waking the Dragons in a stall variant deck, this card is going to see a lot of success, I feel, in the upcoming format, and I think it's 100% going to be a staple in the standard extra deck. But anyway, this is my little discussion on ThousandEyes Restrict. I'm actually super excited for this because I do love the Relinquish deck currently, so I'm super excited to see the Fusion monster come to the Speed Duel TCG. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to check out the Discord linked in the description below. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'll catch you guys in a couple days. Also, I do want to apologize for it taking so long for this video to come out. I've been really busy lately, but I should be on an actual schedule now, and you guys should see videos coming out every second day. Anyway, that's a wrap. Thank you for watching, and catch you guys on Sunday.